Some good news, guys. A story that I believe that I covered here on this platform when the story broke back in October of 2020. In fact, now that my marijuana cannabis addled brain, my brain that is full of resin, that be slowing up my synapses and my fucking thought process and shit, it literally just came to me. October of 2020, I was still at the real news, and that's where I covered it, likely on Stir Crazy, because I was looking on my page and lives. I'm like, how come I can't find this when it happened live? But that's why, because I was on the real news at the time. So, October of 2020, a 20-year-old man by the name of Karon Hilton Brown was riding on a moped down Georgia Avenue or in Northwest Washington, D.C., when he was followed too closely by officers from the Metropolitan Police Department. MPD is DC police for, I guess it's kind of like the London police, the Met, but they don't call it the Met here. They call them MPD, Metropolitan Police. Metropolitan Police Department was following this young man too closely. He was riding, and they were following him for the purpose because he was allegedly riding on the sidewalk and he was not wearing a helmet. So the Metropolitan Police Crime Suppression Unit decided to pursue this young black man to the point where he was trying to get away from them for a very obvious reasons when his moped went into traffic and he was struck by a SUV. He later succumbed to his injuries very tragically, but what his family and activists in the DC area suspected is that there was a cover up because the Metropolitan Police Department were very cagey with the fucking information pertaining to identifying Karan and notifying his family and making the body cam video and etc. and information pertaining to what happened that night accessible and transparent to Karan's family. And his mother has been very involved with this entire situation. So that happened October 2020 when this young man lost his life. September of 2021 is when it was announced that the two officers involved were the one officer involved, Terence Sutton, and his supervisor were charged with they charged Sutton with second degree murder, right? And this is historic, and I'm going to get into the ways in which this is historic, just those officers being charged, but the outcome also is quite historic. So I want us to a tad bit here get a little bit caught up in case you guys may not remember when I covered this. Maybe you weren't watching yet when I covered this. And I want to big up to Chuck Modiano, justice journalist. We're going to see some of Chuck's footage here in just a moment, but I want you guys to hear about the trial. Because the trial has been happening over the past, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks in DC, and it's been something. So I want to give you guys a little bit of a primer. See, I hear primer, I think of what you put on your face under your makeup. Or is it primer? I can never get that right. There's certain things I can never keep straight. That is one of them. So I want us to take a look at this package from WUSA 9 because the reporter here, I love the fact that he's got a little bit of a speech impediment going on because it does not detract from his storytelling at all. The storytelling has a little bit of zhuzh because he drags his s's a little bit and has a little bit of a slush mouth. I can dig it. I can dig it. I think it adds some flavor to the storytelling. So let's check out this package from WUSA 9 whilst the trial was in the middle of going on. Let's take a look at that.
Absolutely. Officer Terence Sutton charged with second-degree murder in the 2020 death of Karon Hilton Brown during a police chase. He's in the courtroom listening carefully, watching carefully as prosecutors open this case against him. Sutton's supervisor, Lieutenant Andrew Zabavsky, is on trial with him, accused of conspiracy to try and cover up what happened. A fiery start to a historic trial. With the victim's mother listening, prosecutor Ahmed Muqtada Bassett pointing at Officer Terence Sutton and telling jurors, that man right there murdered Karon Hilton Brown. He did it with his police car, with conscious disregard of the extreme danger of death or serious bodily injury.
Correct.
Hilton Brown's death caught on body-worn camera video. Lieutenant Andrew Zabavsky accused of conspiring with Sutton to cover up the 3-minute-long police pursuit before Hilton Brown rode his rented electric scooter in front of an SUV on Kennedy Street Northwest and was hit and killed, allegedly starting the conspiracy even as Hilton Brown lay dying. Police chased him on suspicion of riding a scooter on the sidewalk and without a helmet.
Justice for Karon!
The young father's death in 2020 touched off days of protests and violent clashes between officers and demonstrators outside the 4th District Police Station in Northwest D.C. Even as the nation grappled with racial justice and the police murder of George Floyd.
My child was human. He didn't deserve that. He wasn't out here robbing and stealing and doing all that. No.
The police officers were part of a crime suppression unit, and their lawyers alleged that Hilton Brown was in Brightwood Park to retaliate after an earlier dispute. Hilton Brown would be alive today, lawyer J. Michael Hannon told jurors, if he'd stopped his moped. He might have been arrested with a weapon, he might have been arrested with drugs, but he would be alive. The trial here expected to last about 3 weeks, possibly past Thanksgiving. And if Sutton is convicted of second-degree murder, he faces a maximum sentence of life in prison.
So that package from WUSA 9 here in Washington, and guys, be clear. So my apologies for not initially issuing a content warning. This is a content warning for police brutality, police murder, a community in pain. So I want us to kind of take a look back, and I'm about to play Chuck's footage right now. For I see the fan love, the love for Chuck Modiano in the chat. Chuck's a good dude out here. Very 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 good at the stuff that he in the stories that he covers. So this footage was from shortly after Karon was killed. And let's just go ahead and take a look at it, because it's way more charged than the excerpt and the little clip snippet that Channel 9 just played in that package. So the clips that you guys are about to see are going to be charged with emotion, but I want to communicate the way that many in the city felt, because this happened in 2020, as we all know what happened in 2020 nationwide. But DC police were like on a roll with like killing people, and the emotion that you're about to see, the anger, the fury that you're going to see in these clips, I feel really does a good job of conveying that. But I want to prep you, because again, it is emotional. So, just a heads up, content warning, trigger warning. Will, let's take a look at what Chuck Modiano shot over those days.
I did not know she was going to do that.
This is a public building. My tax on the pay fucking bill. She can be anywhere she wants, bitch. You don't get here around. You black bitch.
They didn't lock Sutton up, but they locked me up.
Justice for Karon! 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 Yeah! Justice for Karon! 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 Yeah!
Who keep us safe? 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 We keep us safe.
Yeah, you guys see exactly what I mean. It was very, very highly charged. And the scenes that you saw just over the past minute, I suppose, were the protesters, including Karon's family, that was his mom, outside of the 4th precinct police district. They went to the police and brought all of that right there. So the energy has been there 100%. And you heard in that clip Karon's mom Karen say they locked me up, but they didn't lock Sutton up. Well, they did end up charging Officer Terence Sutton with 2nd-degree murder. I'm still amazed that he was even charged with that. The first time in DC's history that a police officer on duty has been even charged with killing somebody while on duty. Well, you guys, this week there was a resolution. The trial came to an end after the jury deliberated, and both police officers, Sutton and his supervisor, were both found guilty. And apparently, as you guys can tell from the previous clips, that there are no cameras allowed in the courtroom. That's why you saw those courtroom sketches. So that's part of the reason I've been using reporters' clips or packages from the local TV show, the television news joints, because, how else? I mean, I wasn't down there, but I want you guys to check out Channel 4. So we saw Channel 9 and we saw Chuck Modiano. Listen to how in disbelief Paul Wagner from Channel 4, the NBC affiliate, is, because apparently Karon's mom had what everybody could totally understand would be an outburst of emotions when she found out that her son's killers were actually going to possibly go to jail. And so anyway, I want you guys to listen to and check out this package. Just listen to how Paul Wagner describes it. I think he did a good job of surmising what none of us could actually see happen live in real time, but the reporter was there in the courtroom. So let's take a look at that package from NBC Washington.
It was highly emotional, and I've never seen anything quite like it, to be honest with you. Karon Hilton Brown's mother, Karon Hilton, who's been down here every day waiting for the verdict. As the verdicts were being read, she couldn't contain herself. She was jumping up and down in her seat. She was snapping her fingers. And then suddenly she jumped up and started screaming at the officers at the defense table. U.S. Marshals jumped up, grabbed her. The judge, Paul Friedman, jumped up, screamed, "Get her out, get her out." And then we understand outside she was accused of assaulting a U.S. Marshal and was put in handcuffs and taken away. So we don't have any reaction from her out here on the street. I can tell you this, when the verdict for second-degree murder was read, Terence Sutton, sitting at the defense table, lowered his head to the table as if in disbelief. The rest of the verdicts, as they were being read on Terence Sutton and Andrew Zabavsky, of the same reaction. Andrew Zabavsky, the lieutenant who was there accused of conspiracy and obstruction of justice, he had no obvious reaction to it. Sutton was the only one. Now, these officers have been on these GPS monitors, so they've been allowed to come and go. The prosecutor in the case asked that they be stepped back, or at least Sutton be stepped back, I should say. That is taken into custody, but the judge denied it, said they're not a flight risk. They are free to go until sentencing. Now, Terence Sutton was accused of second-degree murder. He was found guilty. Obstruction of justice as well, and also conspiracy. Andrew Zabavsky was found guilty of obstruction of justice and conspiracy. So the jury spent 4 full days trying to come to a conclusion on this case. They actually went out last Thursday, but it was just a partial day, and then they have spent 4 full days. They only sent one note. One other note in this case, I should say, is that this is an historic verdict here in the District of Columbia. No on-duty D.C. police officer was ever charged with murder, and this is now the first time an on-duty D.C. police officer was convicted of murder.
That sounds wild. Like, for the first time ever in the year 2022, December 2022, no less, it's the first time that an on duty DC police officer has ever been convicted of killing somebody. I would love to know the number total, recorded, and speculated of people killed, murdered by Metropolitan Police here in the district throughout the history of the existence of the Metropolitan Police Department. For this to be the first time for a police officer to be held accountable is very on brand for for the nation's capital, as it portends to holding murderous police accountable. Okay, so let me give you guys an update real quick. If you could pop up that tweet, please, Will, from Harriet Streams. Let me give you an update about the status of Karon Hilton Brown's mother, Karen. In fact, Karen was released that same night despite charges being pressed against her. All charges were dropped, and Karon Hilton has been cleared of any wrongdoing. And Harriet Streams is a youth-led organization based in Washington, D.C. They do mutual aid. They do a lot of good work. And they said that her arrest was unjust to begin with. And, of course, me as a person that rejects respectability outright, forthright, front hand, backhand, if Karon Hilton wanted to hoop, holla, and carry on in the courtroom, especially given the weight of the news that the jury, decided to convict, which I'm sure nobody was expecting this conviction. Maybe Mrs. Hilton was. Maybe she did expect it. I didn't expect it at all. Because, hold on, let me back up. So there's been a spate of police-involved shootings, like I said, over the past couple of years, especially since 2020, and even some shootings most recently here by federal agents. 2 shootings, one recently within the past, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 weeks. A young man was killed by an FBI agent. I think it was in Metro Center, if I'm not mistaken. No, it was Gallery Place, which is a big hub on the DC Metro line. And it happened around rush hour, and the whole circumstance behind this young man losing his life on a metro platform in front of a crowd of people, allegedly by this federal agent, is very, very higgy. In fact, his family is already publicly raising a lot of questions about that. Also, within the past month, an FBI agent who shot, but fortunately did not kill, another metro passenger, this time in Montgomery County, a jury acquitted that FBI agent of attempted murder. I was surprised that Montgomery County actually charged this FBI agent with something with a charge so serious, just righteously in my opinion. But I was shocked about that attempted murder charge, but then equally shocked that the FBI agent had been acquitted. So we've had a spate of all of these sort of shootings, killings, specifically by agents of the state, both federal and city. And I was surprised that Sutton and Zabavsky, or Zelensky, or I'm not sure, I can't remember his name, whoever the lieutenant was, got found guilty as well. But while people are celebrating, and they should be celebrating, I'm a little cautious after I saw this in the Washington City paper. Will, if you could pop up that next tweet. Yes. Because the attorney representing police officer Eric Sutton actually sent a letter to the 4th District Police Department today. That is the district in which Sutton came from. They noted that his pending Rule 20 motion, okay, a Rule 20 motion that would allow for the judge to throw out the jury's verdict and acquit Sutton. That is something that this defense attorney has now submitted to the judge. And the fact that this judge didn't take Sutton and the lieutenant into immediate custody after the jury found them guilty, I found that a little troubling. I heard, what the reporter said, um, that he did not consider them to be a flight risk. Okay, but you just got convicted of second degree murder, so maybe you should go to jail. maybe the time to report the jail should be anytime after now. And big up to Washington City paper for reporting that. They actually even posted the letter that this defense attorney, yep, there it is, sent to the 4th District police officers, encouraging them that they need to start contributing to the police officers lawyer union with the lawyer fund, the legal defense fund, because I think, as the reporter, or pardon me, the lawyer called it, that they, the police, are in like some sort of troubled times. We're in times of fraughtness, with police officers actually being held accountable potentially for their actions. You got to contribute to this police legal defense fund, because it could be you next, should be you next. If you out here harassing people, killing people, creating a dangerous situation for a person who is at most committing a minor infraction, is it necessary to follow behind somebody who's riding a moped on the sidewalk? And this was at nighttime. And if I'm remembering this correctly, I believe that Officer Terence Sutton had a previous ongoing harassing encounters with Karon Hilton Brown. Like, because Sutton was assigned to the neighborhood in which Karon lived or frequented, they encountered each other quite a bit. And I believe that Karon's family said that Sutton had been harassing Karon over a period of years. Which is why I think the family was so incensed when it was Sutton specifically that was behind this, and then his lieutenant helped him to cover it up, as you heard there. So I I'm holding off my immediate celebratory put them pigs behind them jail cells. You know what I mean? Because we have seen higgy shit like this go down before, where a jury will render a verdict and yet a judge or some other sort of legal maneuvering will enter the fray, and then the opportunity for justice just got snatched from the jaws of defeat, right? Like, it's about to go in people's favor, and then the American criminal justice system remembers who it's there to really protect, and it swoops in to do exactly that. So I'm calling this good news, but I'm calling it tempered good news until we get to sentencing. Until we get to sentencing, and we know exactly how long these cops are going to face for their role and their involvement in Karan's death. So there's that.